only on Q95.
Good evening, Dominica, the Caribbean region, and the rest of the world, and welcome to another episode of Roots Connections on Q right here on Q95, the big station. It is always wonderful to be in your company for our number one program, which features the people, the organizations, and the new and ongoing projects which are geared towards moving Dominica and the Caribbean region forward, especially as it relates to financial opportunities for our brothers and sisters at home and around the world, and with regards to securing the future of our children. Today, we have another packed program for you, and we are thrilled to be joined by I Have a Right Foundation and the National Good Deeds Campaign. And I believe that as our discussion unfolds this evening, we will all come to agree that they are a great example of those who are answering the question, which is at the core of our Roots Connections program. That is, what are each one of us willing to do to turn our passion for Dominica and our Caribbean region into action to see how the world is changing and evolving. We look at our people forward. We all know that we continue to face many battles and challenges in Dominica and the Caribbean region. But here on Roots Connections, we especially recognize that in order to effect the changes we are seeking, our people must be financially independent and our children must be prepared for the future, so that other important decisions can be made, such as electing the government of our choice. So again, welcome to the program. This is episode number 72 of Roots Connections on Q for today, June 26, 2024. And I am your host, Simone Matthew. Today, we are happy to be joined by Miss Valerie Honore, Miss Soana Benjamin, and Miss Diane Felicien out there in our sister island of St. Lucia. So again, we are talking about I Have the Right Foundation and the National Good Deeds Campaign as we continue to explore that ever perennial question of what each one of us are willing to do to help to advance our Caribbean region. But before we get started, we always like to start on a note of gratitude and a note of a prayer for our country, Dominica, and for all the challenges and battles we continue to face. So we always have to remember to pray for our country, to pray for our islands. So again, let's give a very warm Roots Connections welcome to our guests. We thank them for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here. So now we're going to invite them to unmute their mics and greet the audience. Just tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and just a little bit about your upbringing, because I get the sense that your upbringing is what has driven you to be founders of your NGO. So let's start with you, Ms. Valerie Honore. And as you guys are sharing your information, I'll go ahead and share the link to the program to everyone who's waiting to get connected. So Valerie, go ahead, please.
All right. So, hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight. My name is Valerie. I'm from the community of Woodfordale. As it relates to my upbringing, I farming. And I think everybody knows Woodfordale for a farming community. My father was, God rest his soul, was a farmer. And why am I tearing up for my dad? But I mean, I don't always, I love him. But from the community of Woodfordale, that's where I was born. That's where I grew up. I went to the Woodfordale Primary School, went on to the St. Andrews High School, then Northeast Comprehensive, the Dominica State College, and the University of the West Indies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you very much for that information. Ms. Soana, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am also from the village of Woodford Hill, but I moved to Portsmouth when I was young. So I completed my primary education at the Portsmouth Government School. Then I went to PSS, and after that, the Dominica State College. I also grew up in farming. I tell people all the time that I saw my mother being a farmer and the challenges that she went through. And now I am in farming. I just started, and well, I have not experienced quite a few of the challenges as yet. So I'm very excited to be doing some farming.
Right. So
Yes,
we both grew up
thank
in
you for
farming.
that. And it's great to see young people be interested in farming. You know, I consider you, I don't know how old you are, but you look very young. So it's great to see young people interested in farming. Out there in St. Lucia, Diane, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dominica. A warm welcome from St. Lucia. My name is Diane Felicia. I am actually coming from humble beginnings, poverty, going through a lot of the social ills that we have around the Caribbean and around the world. Coming from a lot of the social ills, having experienced it myself, and that has given me the passion and the drive for starting the foundation and really pushing the importance of volunteerism as to how it could develop one into being a successful individual.
Hmm. Yes, so we can't wait to hear all the wonderful topics we will explore during this conversation. So, again, if you're just joining us, welcome to Roots Connections. We are happy to be joined by I Have a Right Foundation, and we're going to be talking about the National Good Deeds Campaign, which is not limited to Dominica. So, we continue to work to position Dominica to take advantage and benefit from a world where change is the only constant. As always, we are grateful to you, our audience. We look forward to your contribution to the discussion when we open the lines later in the discussion. Facebook and YouTube, we know you will have many important thoughts to share on this topic. So we are looking forward to you joining the conversation as well. Don't forget, we are live on Facebook at Q95 FM Radio, as well as Push Past 10. And we are also live on YouTube at Q95 FM Radio. Don't forget to follow and subscribe so you will not miss any of our programs. And click that notification button so you will know every time that we go live. We remain grateful to Mr. G and the Q95 Radio family for the opportunity to come here to begin reversing that brain drain that we always talk about, which continues to impact the Caribbean region. We are grateful to Showin, our engineer, and of course, Lambi. Thank you as always for being here to take the calls towards the end of the program. So let's get right into the program. So before we get into your NGOs, just tell us a little bit about your professional backgrounds. And this time we'll begin with you, Diane. So let's kind of take a walk through the path you took to get to where you are today.
Yes, I actually started from, like I indicated, from very humble beginnings. One would know that, there are stores in St. Lucia. I started off as a sales rep at SNS, then moved on to a department store as a receptionist, where I was earning $115 every 15th and 30th, which is EC dollars.
Mhm.
And from there, I actually it started from there, where it is. I always tell people it is important to be nice. There was this lady who came up and she said to me that she's running late for her job. And as the receptionist, I said to her, "Would you like to call the office to let them know that you're running late?" And she said, "Somebody like you deserves to be in the tourism industry." And the next day, I got this call, and my life changed instantly. I got a job at a hotel where she was the front office manager. And I started off again as a receptionist, as an operator, as a weddings coordinator, as a guest services attendant, as a front office manager, duty manager. I grew up the rank within that hotel and I served for 17 years. I did a lot of volunteerism. I was actually the National Volunteer Coordinator in the Office of the Prime Minister. I served on the boards of the Hospitality Credit Union on the Supervisory Committee. I was also the chairperson of the Credit Committee. I represented the government um, on the board of the National Community Foundation. I was actually the past president of the St. Lucia Crisis Center. Um, Also, I served in the community where I live as the secretary for the Riviera Meter Development Committee. And that has been, I was also the supervisor within the HR department, which is the UVL, Unique Vacations, which is the call center of Sandals and Beaches Resorts. And then I decided to start off with Donation Foundation, of which I am the CEO and founder. And this is what I am doing presently as a full time. I am actually serving the people of St. Lucia and by extension the Caribbean and by extension the world. As I am also the Good Deeds Day leader for St. Lucia and also representing the Caribbean on a national level when it comes to Good Deeds Day and really pushing the movement of Good Deeds Day.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to hear more about Good Deeds Day. But congratulations. Congratulations on your success. And I think you share such an important example of knowing where your next opportunity is going to come from. So always being nice and pleasant, even when you have the most humble job, a kind act can go a long way. So always keep in mind as we're interacting with the public, if we're looking for career opportunities, and in general, you should be nice because, I always think to myself, if you're having a miserable day and you're going to treat people miserably and then they're going to treat you miserably in turn, then you're going to have a worse day. So you might as well, despite your plight in life, you might as well try to be pleasant all the time. So congratulations on all your success to date.
Thank you so much. And indeed, I always say to people, your next general manager, your next manager can be somebody who's wearing flip-flops and jeans.
Absolutely.
So do not judge people by what they wear or by how they look, because you never know who they are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. So Anna, let's come to you. Tell us a little bit about your professional background.
I am a teacher. I did a few years at the Portsmouth Secondary, my alma mater. I also did a few months at Castleberry Secondary, and I also did a year at Roosevelt Douglas Primary School. So I am a teacher by nature. I also teach informally. I usually teach Sunday school, at camps, at VBSs. And I think this is where my voluntary work started. I also, when I was at secondary school, I also was president of the Savings Club Union there, participating in a volunteer conference organized by the Dominica Society, the Credit Union League. And this was very instrumental. It was about volunteerism. And I remember, being so impacted by that conference about the information that we were receiving and so forth. And then presently, I volunteer with I Have a Right Foundation. Very happy for that opportunity, as well as a football club in my community and agriculture cooperative as well.
Mm-hmm. And you're also a cameraman for camerawoman for Emo News.
I do. I was so privileged to be one of the first employees of Emo News.
Yes, and we wish her much success.
Thank you.
As always. Yes. So before I think I'm hearing the feedback. So I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. Do you guys hear feedback when I speak?
No, you
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
You? I think it's good.
Yes, you hear feedback or no?
Yes, I hear feedback.
Oh, I'm not sure what's going on. Yes. Okay. So I think when you guys mute your mic, it helps So just keep your mics muted when you're not talking. Thank you so much, guys. But before we come to you, Valerie, let me just acknowledge. Oh, Emelina is here. Hi, Emo. Thank you for joining us. You know, Emo is so supportive. She made sure she joined the conversation because one of her employees is on board. Or Emo, is it that you always join our conversation? Yes, thank you for being here. Let us just acknowledge everyone who's joining us so far on the Facebook Live. Jennifer Coffey, always nice to see you from Jackson, Florida. My mom, Medina Senhouse, is here. Thank you for joining us. Let's see who else we have. Sheila Francis, Rosette, John Charles, John Baptist, Marie Henry, Nova Don, Michael John, Jerry Daway, Sandra, Zam Bon, Jan Alfred, Madeline Breedy, Simi Delia, and Joe Bale. Yes, guys. So thank you. So come on in. Don't forget, share the live as you're coming in so we can share this program with everyone. So let's come over to you, Valerie, as you tell us about your professional development.
Right. So I like to think of myself as a social entrepreneur. So I'm involved in so many things that sometimes like it's like wearing different hats. So I am also in the restaurant industry. So I have a business called the Happy Box, which everybody should know about. And aside from that, I am the founder of I Have a Right Foundation. Started I Have a Right out of passion, just wanting to make my community a better place, wanting to advocate for the rights and protection of violence against all forms of abuse for children, girls, and youth in my community. So professionally, I have a background in business administration, management studies, and youth development work. You're mute.
So I think what we want to do. Mute your mic. It's going to be a dance this evening, but we'll get it right. So I think what we want to do this evening is first talk about your NGOs, because I think there's always room for additional folks to join the important work that both you and Diane are doing, and also just partnerships. If there's anyone who would like to partner and support the work that you're doing. So I like for our guests to share on the NGOs, when it got started, the goals, the mission, the projects, the ongoing projects that you have right now. So Diane, let us begin with you. You are the CEO and founder of Do Nation Foundation. So tell us what that is all about.
Donation Foundation is actually an organization that tackles the social ills of society. So we speak about people who is going through a divorce, people who has been raped. We speak about vulnerable persons. We speak about men and women, and we also go as far as working in terms of projects on climate change. Because we believe that wherever we notice that there is something that is lacking in the community, we find a creative way to make a change. So we really tackle the social ills of society. And again, Donation Foundation started from my background as an individual, as someone who has been raped, somebody who has gone through divorce, somebody who has attempted to kill themselves, somebody who has gone through so much, 10 miscarriages, and all of a lot of the social ills that we speak about in not just in St. Lucia, but a lot of our women, a lot of our men go through a lot. And I have been through it, and I believe that as an organization, these are the areas that we are tackling, because most times as a survivor myself, as somebody who has gone through this, it is I would understand as to what I needed at that time when I was going through. And sometimes, though we may want to deal with a situation, but dealing with it or going through the situation would put you in a better place to say, I understand, I have been there. And that is why we work towards, and we go through, and we go to the extent of even going to the homes of the vulnerable people. We try to see in every way how we could help them. So this is what donation is. This is what we are about. We have been in existence for a little over 3 years, although most people think that it's about 7 years because of all that we do. Um, but we have been in existence for a little over 3 years. We believe in collaboration. We work in tandem with the social, the sustainable development goals. Most of our projects are around it. And of course, we are the Good Deeds Day lead organization for St. Lucia. So we do a lot when it comes to animals, when it comes to the environment, when it comes to people, when it comes to poverty. Any way that we can help, Donation Foundation will be there.
Yeah, and our heart goes out to you on everything that you experience. But again, thank you for being so candid about your experiences. And I have to tell you, Diane, when I read your bio, I thought to myself, my God, how does she accomplish all of this? It sounded like a very arduous and insurmountable mission that you're on when we read about, the issues that are swept under the carpet, such as a fragmented social structure, challenges in the health sector, the justice system, mental health, well-being. So kind of just tell us about a typical project that you're undertaking in one of these areas so we have a better understanding of what you do.
Right. So one of the projects we are about to launch is the what we call the Donation Foundation Swag, which is the Smart, Worthy, Ambitious Girls. That project is actually dealing with girls from 9 to 17. And it is not just girls, but the girls in the rural areas, girls who the system sometimes don't reach to them. So we are going out to these young ladies in terms of speaking to them, offering them a mentorship program. We are looking at the health and wellness because most of these young ladies, they are teenage mothers from the age of 13 to 14. They are teenage mothers or expecting mothers. So we are looking at the health and wellness aspect. We are looking at education and literacy. We are also looking at as to how we could allow them to understand that this is not the way of life for them. And when we say the way of life, sometimes as a young lady you made a mistake, you got pregnant at the age of 13, and you would say this is it. We are saying to the young ladies, this is not it. So this is one of the programs that we have. We also have, again, the Father's Rise. This program tackles young men. It speaks to young men or fathers or father figures. What we do with this program is that we work alongside an international organization called Deeds Driven Dads. And what we do is that we train our men so that they can become leaders in their community. So, for instance, if there are a disaster, they could be the ones being called. So they would be leaders in the communities. Because most times our men feel that they are not appreciated, they are not remembered, they are not taken care of, there are no projects to help them. So this is why we have that project called Father's Rise, where we are telling them we need you. You make a valuable contribution to society, and we find ways as to how we can empower them. We also have another program for period poverty, where we speak to our young ladies and we try, because whilst I may be able to afford a packet of pad, not everyone or not every young woman can afford a packet of pad. So we also have that program, which is period poverty. And we also will be launching a bigger program, which will be speaking to gender-based violence. And by gender-based violence, we will be having that program. We will be having various various ways that we could speak to our women, and not just our women and our men, because sometimes when we have gender-based violence, we only think of women, but also our men go through that level of violence. So these are some of the programs that we have, and we are about to launch two big programs within the next coming weeks.
Yeah, well, Diane, I'm certainly happy that you're here joining us, because one of the things I always think to myself is how can we learn from what others are doing and implement it in Dominica? So I know one of the things that we have in common on this program is the Good Deeds initiative. But I'm also thinking about the importance of the deeds-driven dad, because we are experiencing a crisis with our young men in Dominica, and I've been trying to get a conversation going on what can we do for our young men. So when you talk about the deeds-driven dads and you talk about fathers' rise, I think those are some of the programs that we should be looking into in terms of implementing them in Dominica. So I'm so happy that you're joining us so we can feed off some of the ideas that you are sharing with us today. So thank you very much for that. So Valerie, I'm going to ask you the question, and then I'm going to mute my mic so we won't have any feedback when you unmute your mic. But in the same way, tell us about how you started your foundation and more information about projects and everything that you're doing.
All right, thank you, Simone. So like I mentioned, the name of my organization is I Have a Right Foundation, and I Have a Right, like the name suggests, really is just about focus on inspiring children, girls, and youth with knowledge about their rights so that they can be able to protect themselves from all forms of violence and abuse. Most of our programming focuses on education. So we focus on education, raising awareness, and advocacy. So we operate in the rural areas of Dominica, and that is like, well, we live in Woodford Hill, Wesley, Marigot, Kalibishi, and parts of the Kalinago territory. As it relates to, just where I Have a Right started and come from, I would say, like I often ask, it was a simple question, and I saw an article in the newspaper one time. I think I was about probably 14 years old or so, and it was really from our prime minister when he said, like, what are you doing to contribute to your community development, and so on? What can you do to contribute to personal change? And as a young person, that inspired me. And I began thinking about my community. And I think I asked myself the question, like I asked, how different would your life have been? And I think that everybody can ask themselves that question. How different would your life have been if your mother was a prostitute, if your father is a drug dealer, if your mother is a doctor, or your father is a prime minister? Just how different would your life have been? And I think that when we think about that question, we don't get situation that we are born into. We don't get to choose the situation that we grew up in, but we can definitely get to choose the outcome, or we can choose what we do with what life gives us. And I think for me, just seeing the level of abuse, the level of poverty, the level of just how it is living in Dominica, you just want and desire more. You want to be able to reach your points where we are developing leaders, and it's not just, I like to say that it's not just tokens and it's not just puppets that young people are, that young people can actually be partners in development, that we can be regarded as such, So when I think about I Have a Right Foundation, it's really about how do we inspire our next generation of leaders, that we are actually building a cycle of leadership throughout our communities, throughout our country, that we are really just taking it to the next level, I would say. So in terms of our programming, we have a strong focus on girls' leadership. We also have a focus on youth leadership, children rights, and volunteerism. For our girls program, we operate a mini library in the community of Wesley, and we have a girlhood program, which is our signature program. And like I mentioned, it's really just about equipping them with the knowledge, the skills, and the resources that they need to then be able to lead change. We are not telling them exactly what to do, or this is how you lead change, this is what you do, we are just building their capacity to be leaders within their schools and their communities, so that we can have, at least down the line, Dominica would have leaders that can just be able to rise and be able to take on and lead their country in the most sustainable way.
Yeah, so mute your mic for a second. Let's see the feedback. Yes, mute your mic for a second so I can ask a question. So let me bring Soana into the conversation. So I want you, Soana, to tell us about the structure of some of these programs. So are they like after-school programs? Because if I'm a parent in your area and I'm hearing all this wonderful news about opportunities to develop my children, I would want to know, are they after-school programs? What times to these programs made. And I also saw that you had mentioned in your bio that you have a partnership development. So if you could tell us about that as well. So I'm going to mute my mic so you can unmute yours.
Librarian person.
Okay, so I will tell you about a few, and then I'm going to pass on to Valerie so that she can tell us a little more about some of the bigger, or should I say bigger, the bigger projects that we do here. One of the things that we have recently started is our library. We call it our Youth for Success Library. So it is an after-school program. The students come from school and they come up here. It is located upstairs, Happy Box. And when they come here, we help them with their homework, we help them to study. They have books that they are able to read. And we are hoping to do some more in the summer. The kids, the response so far has been great. We had to decide to separate the classes because it was a little much for the space. So we decided to do third grade and fourth grade on Monday and so on, and so that we have manageable numbers. Every afternoon, the students come in. We were trying to get them to go home first and then to come back, but that does not work. So from school, they come over to the space and they enjoy it here. They are always excited. They usually, after they finish doing their academics, they get time to play with either their Legos or to do some coloring and so forth. As a growing organization, as a growing NGO, we are this year focusing a lot on developing greater partnerships. So we brought on a partnership coordinator, partnership development coordinator, who has been doing a lot of the groundwork so far. So what we want to do is partner with businesses to see in what ways they can assist us, because we're in need of things for when we're running our programs, which Valerie will talk about more. Even our library, we're always looking for more books and other games, and so that the students can utilize while they are here. And when I'm on the library, I also want to say thank you to Bramble.
Bramble Books. Oh yeah.
It's Bramble Books, and also the Peace for Yoga Foundation. These are some of our partners so far who have helped us to get this library started, and they still support us to this day. And so we're very thankful for them. Now I'm going to let Valerie tell you more about, especially our She Wins brunch,
Okay.
and some of our other mentorship programs.
And before I go to that, Simone, I also want to mention about the library and how, we actually got the library going. And I think that is just such a wonderful thing that every book in the library was donated. So it's about people who have come to the island, whether it's returning Dominicans returning home or visiting Dominicans. They just pack a book and they pack a stationery and they bring it. And that is how we were able to set up a mini library in the community to be able to serve. Right. So just to mention more about the programs that we do, one of our core program is called the Disrupt Hub program. And it's a program focused on girls. It's a program focused on building their leadership skills, but also challenging the negative connotation with the word disruptor. Because when you think about disruptor, you really just think about something negative. But what if we are disrupting for good? What if we do not like what we see in our schools and communities and we decide that I want to see a change? So I think that a lot of our programming is really focused on helping our young people to identify issues that they face, and not just identify it and let it stay there, but what can I do to help bring across that change? What can I do to help solve those issues? How can I be a partner in development? Yes, so that's with the Disruptor program. We also host a brunch called She Wins. So that is really just bringing together other young women who have succeeded in different career fields, to just come and inspire our adolescent girls to dream big. We always like to think about inspiring them to dream big in terms of whatever career that they want to get into. So whether it is civil engineering, it's really about how do we continue to, because we like to think that, yeah, we've done a lot of work breaking the glass ceiling, but we still have a lot more work to do, and in terms of continuing to inspire, not only our girls, but our boys to dream big. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Valerie. And Alvin Thomas, I see you on the Facebook Live. I will take your comments in a little while, but I hope that you caught, Alvin, where we talked about the deeds driven dads and the father's rise, because I know you and I have had extensive conversations about what we need to do for our young men in Dominica. So I think that is a good place to start. Diane might serve as a good resource for someone that can put us in touch with someone in St. Lucia. It's all about making the connections. It's all about making those connections so we can implement those programs. But what I am enjoying about this conversation this evening, ladies, is just seeing how you have turned experiences that may not have been so positive in your life, and you've turned it into a positive, right? So the idea, sometimes we get so stuck in what was done to us. When Diane talked about being raped, my God, such revelation about having 10 miscarriages. I couldn't imagine. After the second one, I would have stopped trying. So the weight of everything that we're talking about today, and then to see how you've been able to rise above all those challenges. You are such a wonderful inspiration. And that is I always encourage our viewers to share these programs, especially to our younger audiences, because many of them are stuck and they're looking for that inspiration. And when they hear about the stories, Diane story, I think, who would not be inspired by everything that you have gone through? But what I want to do right now, I want to open our Valerie, mute. Thanks. Yes, I want to open our conversation up and just talk about how you're creating those safe spaces. You're creating those safe spaces for our young people to grow and to thrive, because we all know that we live in a very chaotic world. The outside world is so chaotic, it's so noisy, there's so much distraction. So let us talk about your ability to create those safe spaces where our young people can thrive, they can learn, they can grow, and they can become leaders. So, Diane, let me start with you about just creating the environment, the enabling environment for youth development with your NGO.
Yes, thank you again. When it comes to creating an environment, it starts with you. It starts with the way that you carry yourself. It starts with the way that you make yourself available. And one thing that I would share as somebody who started an NGO takes a lot from you, and you must be willing to give of yourself. And as long as you're willing to give of yourself, and you must be able to listen. So some of the things that we give to these young people is to listen, and don't be too quick to speak, but to listen, and listen to what is not being said. So we create that that space where we invite them to be themselves, and we monitor, we look at how we could help them. Because sometimes we hear people speak about, our young people are not disciplined enough, they are disrespectful, and sometimes that is the only way they know to ask for attention. And when we see these things happening, we are quick to say, you know what, I'm not going to say anything to that child. Mani ay perfecti ba maisala anko. um, but what we are saying is that we create that area so that they could feel free, and we are not quick to judge, not quick to give up, and we work with the parents as well, because sometimes the parents too have gone through their fair share of trauma, where they too went to something and they don't know how to deal with it, and they are not dealing with their kids um, in the way that they should. So we listen, we learn, we help, and we try to make them independent and not dependable, because a lot of what we have in the Caribbean is that we have created what I call the dependency syndrome, where we make them dependent instead of independent. So we find ways to either empower them, one, to look for ways that they too can have to know what their skills are, what their passion are, and what they can work towards to make themselves a better person. And these are the ways that we do and we continue to do with young people. We go to the schools as well. And you spoke about my story, and I could tell you I have gone through a few schools in St. Lucia. And when I speak about my story, the number of young women who come up and say, "Hey, I have been through it,"
Wow.
and it is what we do is we also encourage people to share your story. It might not be the right time, you might, and to take your time as well, but sharing your story can help another young lady or another young man. And that is what we do, and that is how we create the safe spaces. um, Again, our core values, we are strong on confidentiality, because young people come and they share things with you, and you should be able to have that level of confidentiality that they can share with you, and even their parents share information with you, that you were supposed to have that level of confidentiality, that whatever the parents share with you about these children, that you are not supposed to share it with the children, but deal with it in a way that both the parents and the child could find a solution to their problems. So this is how we create the safe space for the children. We continue to look for opportunities in terms of internship programs, and we have a lot of partners in St. Lucia. So we often engage our partners so that we could create a lot of opportunities for our children. Like I said, they are just sometimes just looking for somebody to care, somebody to listen, somebody to help them along the way.
Yeah, and Diane, you are so right because I'm a parent as well, and I think the best approach I've adopted to parenting is to talk less and listen more. And sometimes just driving in the car, you turn off the music, you don't lecture your child, you're not on the phone speaking to someone else. You just sit in the silence. And I think a lot of people are just uncomfortable with sitting in silence. But I think it is something that is worth practicing. You just sit in the silence and you will be surprised the conversation your child or children will initiate with you because you simply chose to listen and talk less and lecture less. We spend way too much time lecturing our children. Instead of lecturing them, maybe we should ask them simple questions about what is going on with them so we can get a true understanding of what is going on. And I also like that you mentioned that dependency syndrome, because in Dominica, we're seeing that dependency syndrome not only in our children, but in adults. And I think that as well is impacting our children. Because when our children see us being dependent on others, being dependent on the government, being dependent on handouts, what is it teaching our children? Is it teaching them to be independent? Is it teaching them to be leaders? It is teaching them to be self assured in their skills and their talents to be able to create that life for themselves? Or is it simply teaching them to follow the paths of their parents? Because children live what they learn and they learn what they live. So if that is what we are exposing them to, I don't think we should be surprised when they adopt that same dependency syndrome. So thank you so much for bringing some wonderful points to the conversation. So Valerie, let us come to you and Soana as we talk about creating that same space. And your foundation is called I Have a Right Foundation. So let's talk about the rights that you are impacting on your children as well.
Yeah, thank you, Simone. So, with reference to safe space, and thank you, Diane, for sharing as well. It's really like we have a physical space because we think about it physical as a physical space, but we also think about what we do in that physical space as well. So we have our mini library, which also serves as our girlhood lounge, and it's really meant to be a space where girls can come, not only to get academic support, but to also just come and relax, a space where their voices can be heard. I think like often we try to remind them that, you remember the saying where they say little girls are to be seen and not heard? No, that doesn't exist anymore. We want to hear your voice. We want you to be able to be confident enough speak out on issues that affect you. And we want that you are in a space where you feel confident enough that your whatever you say is being valued, but also, as Diane mentioned, with the issue of confidentiality and so on, that you know that you feel protected wherever you are. So that's why safeguarding is a big part about what we do, equipping our volunteers with the skills and resources that they can be able to know how to deal with those type of situations. But I think like just a big part about what we do is just giving girls an opportunity to have a voice. And we don't want to reach into a state in Dominica or in our Caribbean throughout our region where we go back to that space where we don't want to speak because we fear victimization. We don't want to speak because we fear anything that could happen to us when we just use our voice, whether we are speaking for our rights or not. And that's why a strong focus of I Have a Rights Foundation is to empower our beneficiaries with knowledge about their rights. And what we think is that if you know your rights, you are better able to protect yourself, you're better able to stand up for yourself, you're better able to stand up for others. So it's really just on that premise that we want to just use our creative programming, use our arts, use different methods to be able to just let it become normal, like to them, that this is my rights. I'm confident enough to own it. I am developing my leadership skills, and I'm able to not only stand up for myself, but also stand up for my peers. And I have a supporting environment around me. I have a community around me that is able to support me throughout. Yes.
And if I may add, one of the other programs that we do here in our physical space is what we call Girl Talk, which we host every last Thursday of the month. So we had one last week with visiting archaeologists. And the week before that, we had one focused on bullying, because we recognize that that is something that our young people suffer through. And we have seen growth in terms of how they deal with each other. When we listen to their conversations, how they stand up for each other, we have seen growth in that area, and that's something that we are very happy about. Also, in our physical space, just on Monday, when I did library, I started with what I called free expression. So I had them choose a book, and I said, read a little something from the book, and then they had the opportunity to come and share, because that I believe makes them build their confidence. And then I did little video recordings of some of them. And there was one little one who chose a book on Rosa Parks, and you should have seen her talking about how Rosa Parks just sat down. And then I took the opportunity to create the kind of background, or not create, but to share the background of that with the others who were there. And they were very young, those I had on Monday. But can you imagine how students understanding? And sometimes we wonder, the Bible talks about just a little seed, a little, we wonder how far these things actually go, but we have the faith that we are having the impact, or we are growing the seeds that will blossom even while they grow. So I was saying, if you could imagine the impact, that understanding that you don't really have to go with what is happening around you, that you can stand up just like Rosa Parks did. Some of the other materials that we have, which I discovered one time, there were some women in the Caribbean, and there were little cards on them. So I used to, every time I come, I would pick one and just give the students a little background on it. And I was so happy one time when I picked a blue one, it was about Dame Eugenia Charles. So when I introduced it to them, they were like, yes, we know who that is. And then again, sometimes they know certain things, but it's always good to give them the background. So I was so happy to tell them that she was the first lawyer in Dominica. When you think about the first female, sorry. When you think about lawyers, just being men, and being from, particular family types and so on, and just inspiring them based on other story. Like both of the speakers said before, it's so important to share stories, because that is how we learn. So just by sharing the stories of other Caribbean women, that they are able to imagine themselves in these roles and kind of grow up with the mindset that I know I can.
Yeah, mute.
Yeah,
Yeah, and such wonderful information. And as I'm sitting here listening to, I Have a Right Foundation, what comes to mind is I have a right to a voice. Because I think that is where it all begins with our children. Because, like Valerie mentioned, many times we say children are to be seen, not heard. And that is completely wrong. We need to hear what is going on with our children. And we're having a very adult conversation here. So we also have to talk about the right to speak up when you're being touched or approached inappropriately. And one of the things I'm hoping we can do as we come upon the summer this year is I'm the founder of Dominica Child Protection Society. So I work very closely with Miss Tanya Dixon, who does a fantastic job of using the book If You Touch, I Will Tell. So that is our tool that we use, and we try to get to as many camps as possible. And I'm so grateful to Tanya because she has been such a stalwart on this program. We started back in 2020, June 7th, when little Kanisha Etienne disappeared from Dominica, and we've yet to find out what happened to her. So she has been our driving force to keep going, to speak out, to continue to raise awareness about the inappropriate ways that children being handled in Dominica. So whether it's a girl or a boy, we continue to speak out against all sorts of abuse towards children, but in particular, sexual abuse against our children. So I'm hoping that we can partner with you in Dominica. We can also maybe do it virtually with Diane in St. Lucia, because thanks to technology, we live in a world that is without boundaries. So I'm hoping that we can create that partnership where Dominica Child Protection Society can partner with you to use our tool, If You Touch, I Will Tell, to raise that awareness with your children that if you're being touched appropriately, use that voice. You have a right to use your voice to say, I do not like this, and I want it to stop. So guys, thank you so much for the fantastic job. And of course, we know what connects the two of you, the two different NGOs, is the Good Deeds campaign that happens both in St. Lucia and Dominica. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But as we are quickly approaching the 9 p.m. hour, we want to go ahead and open the mics to our callers and take some Facebook comments as well. So if you joined us late, this is Roots Connections on Q. We have with us Ms. Valerie Honore, Ms. Soana Benjamin from I Have a Right Foundation in Dominica, and we have Miss Diane Felician out there in our sister island, St. Lucia, and she's from the Donation Foundation, and we are talking about how they are serving as exemplary organizations with regards to turning that passion we all have for Dominica and the Caribbean region into action. And before I forget, I also want to mention that Valerie and I are part of a very important organization. That's how I know Valerie, called the Dominica Civical Alumni Association. Valerie, I think our president, Paul Phillip, will be very proud to know that we mentioned Dominica Civical Alumni Association. And we are the ones who produce the Hints of Creole, White Sunset with the Hints of Creole event during the Creole season. So mark your calendars. If you plan on being in Dominica for the Creole season this year, our White Sunset event is going to be on October 23rd. It is always on Wednesday, October 23rd. So mark your calendar. We are starting to launch the program. We will have tickets on sale very soon. So Paul, you can say I didn't give the event a plug. So we are very proud of being members of the Dominica Civical Alumni Association. We raised a profit of $20,000 that we were able to donate to two deserving organizations in Dominica. So this is not only an upscale and elegant event, but it is also a charitable event that does important work. So here we go again, turning that passion for Dominica into action for Dominica. Imagine if all of us in Dominica, the 65,000 on the ground and the 100,000 in the diaspora, imagine if we would all focus on that mission of turning our passion into action. Imagine where we would be. And likewise in St. Lucia and the rest of the other islands, where would we be? So again, ladies, congratulations on all the great work that you're doing. Lambi, let me go over to you so you can open up the phone lines. Thank you.
You are listening and viewing Roots Connection and Q. We now open up the lines. The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are the local numbers. And the overseas number is 305-432-9624. Let me run those numbers one more time. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Local numbers, of course, and the international number 305-432-9624. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you very much for that, Lambi. Let's go over to Facebook and see what comments are coming in. So Jennifer Cuffey, again, good evening to you. My mom, good evening. Emmeline, Emo, Anselm, good evening to you again. Let's see here. Alvin Thomas says, absolutely, men are also exposed to violence. Our young men need a mentorship, Alvin. So that's a project we're going to have to continue working on. How does, here's a question for you, Valerie and Soana. How does I Have a Right Foundation incorporate civic education and responsibilities into the activities and programs of the foundation? The lack of civic education is one area lacking in our schools today. So do you want to answer that question quickly?
I'm sure, yes. So as I mentioned, as part of our Disrupt Hub program, which happens with our girls, that is an element that we focus on as well. And I think like Alvin said, it's very, very important because we are building leaders and we need to let them understand their role in society as well. In addition to our student leadership program that we do, where we support, student councils through Dominica in selected schools throughout Dominica in terms of building their capacity to really, and I think it's very important, Simone, because we want to reach the point where this is something that is just, I like to say, it just becomes normal. This is, we are imparted with that level of knowledge that becomes a part of us, that it becomes a part of our everyday life. And we are able, and I believe that when we do that, we really do reach the point where we produce responsible adults into society that are able to go on and be able to contribute to the development of their country and their region. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that. So let's acknowledge everyone joining us. Jamie, Raspberry, Lewis, Sweetness, Owen Prosper, always great to see you. Good evening, Patriotic Family. I'm locked as always. Thank you, Owen, for always being here. Kenneth Ito, nice to see you. Esther Scorpio, nice to see you. Charisse Paul says, Valerie Honore and Diane Felician are powerhouses. I am happy to have worked with you both. Thank you for that, Charisse. Mary Olivache is here. Annie Parker is here. Let's take some more comments. Naomi Sampson, this is a lovely idea. Thank you, Naomi. Alvin Thomas, based on what the young lady just said, what she could do centers on citizenship. What is our role first and foremost as citizens? Thank you. And then he continues. So true, Diane. They need guidance that comes from listening. Teresa Susanna Roll, thank you for being here. Good evening, Patriots. She says, late but good excuse, Teresa. Better late than never. So remember, guys, if you missed any portion of our program this evening, you can always go back and catch the replay of the entire program on Q95 FM radio on Facebook and YouTube, as well as on Push Past 10. And I'm happy to see that one of our DSAA members is here, Keith Benjamin. Lovely to see you. Thank you for being here, Keith. Alvin Thomas, thank you for the response. So, guys, thank you. Keep the comments coming. Keep engaging in the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts on everything that we are talking about, empowering our young people and creating those environments where they can thrive. So let's come back to you, our panel. First of all, I like to make sure we don't leave any stones unturned. So was there anything else you wanted to mention about your organizations before we start talking about the Good Deeds Initiative?
Yes, Simone. I'm not sure if we are at the point where we could really speak about ways in which Dominicans live here and abroad can support the work. Or so, just to mention, like I mentioned for the library, it's just a beautiful platform that gives almost anybody an opportunity to give back. So whether you're living in Dominica or you're returning home, you're visiting Dominica, we want to give you the opportunity to just pack for a cause, to just pack a book, pack some stationaries. You could help support our library by doing that. You can help support our girls program by packing some sanitary napkins, packing some hygiene packs. If you would like to volunteer in terms of actually, interacting with our beneficiaries, if you want to come and do a reading at the library, if you want to participate in our girl talk, you can also help support that. We have upcoming our girlhood summer camp, and this will lead into our second cohort of our disruptor program. So we're really looking for individuals and entities to come on board to help support our next group of young leaders. And we are starting from first form and taking them all the way to fifth form with that level of programming. So Simone, I know that after this call we're definitely going to connect, because we want that to be a part of our summer program. I saw that book as well. If you touch, I will tell. And I think that, just saying that, just the title of the book says so much. So we're looking for persons who want to come on board as facilitators, want to come on board to participate in our Girl Talk, want to come on board to support us financially, whether you want to adopt one of our programs or just help us with the in-kind resources that we need, that you can be able to be a part of that change. And that change that we are doing is really going to have a ripple effect on our communities and our country and our region by extension. Yes.
And if I may add as well, Val, just this evening, Val and I were speaking about the move that we are seeing in the United States with Legos in education. One of the things that we are finding at our space is, especially why we do not want to confuse the gender roles or to have gender roles, but we are noticing that especially the young boys, they really love building the Legos. And we know that there is this push with using Legos in STEM and in STEAM education. So this is one of the areas that we would like to go into, having those Lego pieces, having all the different Lego sets, so that they can interact with when they come into the space. So that would be something that somebody can think about donating as well.
Thank you.
And just to add, in terms of Donation Foundation, we welcome collaboration. Like you said, Simone, and well, Valerie would know that we welcome collaboration. We do have a number of relationships and partnerships, not just in St. Lucia, but abroad. And the good thing about it is that, our partners are always open to working with other organizations, and we would be happy to share that information. And by extension, we are also inviting persons from other organizations who would like to partner with Donation Foundation. We are open for that as well. I believe that one of the things, and my favorite sustainable development goal, is SDG number 17, which is partnership for the goals. And we as Caribbean islands, St. Lucia and Dominica, we have a lot of things in common, just not your nice rivers, but we speak both English and Creole. And I'm sure there are ways that we can relate to a lot of the things, and how we could work a lot more together, not just for Good Deeds Day, but for other projects as to and the best practices that we could share among the other Caribbean islands.
Yes, certainly. And of course, we want to keep our audience engaged in the conversation. So Keith Benjamin says, I think the answer to Alvin's question is that civics needs to be reincorporated or incorporated into at least the primary school curriculum through all the grades. So thank you for that contribution, Keith Benjamin. Hopefully the authorities that be are listening and they can begin working on that. We usually request your contact information at the end of the program, but Alvin Ipoy say, you know, we're both Dominican and St. Lucia, Nuka Pale Creole. Okay? Alvin Poise. So go ahead and guys start typing in your contact information in the private chat, and I will be sure to share it on the program. So let's get into Good Deeds, that Good Deeds initiative, which is the intersection where Do Nation and I Have a Right Foundation, where you guys both are on the same page. So, what is the Good Deeds Day in St. Lucia? Diane, tell us about that.
Good Deeds Day in St. Lucia is actually, I would say, one of the most vibrant movements. Um, One of the things that I am going to tell people about St. Lucia and about, I believe, all of our Good Deeds Day leader is the passion for doing good. And we in St. Lucia, we drive the message and the importance of doing good. Um, we believe that doing good should not be just one day. So every single day or every single week, we find creative ways to encourage people to do good, whether by buying a cup of coffee, having a cleanup campaign, sending somebody a note. We find creative ways in terms of doing good. What we started in St. Lucia to really get our young people, well, we started with the young women, to get our young people interested in the importance of volunteerism. And I cannot stress on any further or any more about the importance of volunteerism and the impact that it could have on your life. We started what we call the Miss Good Deeds Day St. Lucia. Last year we had it for the very first time, and we got to, it was actually broadcasted live on Facebook. And I can tell you that over 10,000 people got to know about Good Deeds Day. So we have the Miss Good Deeds Day pageant. Currently, we have our six contestants, six beautiful young ladies. The pageant is all about volunteerism. It's all about community. It is all about, the ladies being part of volunteerism within their community, and not just their community but on the island. And of course we have gotten corporate society to come on board with us and sponsor these young ladies. So this is one of our creative ways that we have started to really push the message of good deeds and doing good to our citizens. When it comes to, I think about a week ago, we had a cleanup campaign with over 70 volunteers, which is all about doing good. We collected 520 bags of garbage. Of course, we had the corporate sector. And one of the good things about us in St. Lucia, we have a strong partnership when it comes to the corporate sector, when it comes to the government, when it comes to civil society, that, they have really, we still have a long way to go, but they have really, really come on board in terms of spreading that message of doing good. So we continue to do different projects, from beach cleanups to the pageants, to working with the vulnerable persons, the elderly, persons with disabilities. and we always find a way to say, let's do good today. So this is what St. Lucia is about. I would say that St. Lucia is actually hosting the second regional Good Deeds Day conference, which is happening in September. We will have all of the regional leaders. I know we have five coming from Dominica. We have
Did she freeze? I think she froze for
Yes,
a
that's a
minute.
bit. So I could just continue for Diane. Yes. So St. Lucia is hosting the regional conference for good deeds. So, and like Diane mentioned, it's like good deeds is really a platform where we encourage others to do good for others, to do good for the planet. And it's just a simple act of kindness. So whether that act of kindness comes from you collaborating with someone, you collaborating with an organization, an entity, that is what doing good is. And we believe that volunteerism can indeed be used as a tool to help transform our communities and transform our nation. So we do look forward to being a part of the regional conference that St. Lucia is hosting, and to also help see and support the work. Diane is doing amazing work in St. Lucia, as she said, and we in Dominica as well. We have launched our 100 Good Deeds campaign, um, and that campaign is really just about promoting doing good for others, promoting doing good for yourself, for your environment. And there are many ways. I will give Soana an opportunity to talk on that as she forms part of that committee. But it's really just about how do we get others to come on board to just recognize that volunteerism, can do so much for our communities and our nation, that a simple act of kindness can do so much. And Diane mentioned, just a cup of coffee, but just think about going through everyday life. How can we really think about, just even giving a smile? That's a good deed too, but it's like good deed is anything, and that's why we believe that we will collect, because the campaign is really about documenting the good that is doing. We've come across people that say, I want to do good, but I don't want my picture out there. I don't want my name out there, and then that's fine. But we want to be able to celebrate the good that persons are doing, and we want to be able to encourage people to continue to do good, because there's a lot of people doing good, within our community. So just touch on the good things.
So our good deeds every year, the good deeds lead organization in the island has to decide what they want to do. So this year, I Have a Right Foundation decided that we would do a campaign where we would collect 100 good deeds from all across Dominica. And we would, like Valerie said, we would celebrate those good deeds. So we started on October 14th, which April 14th, I'm sorry, April 14th, which is International Good Deeds Day. So we launched our press campaign. We had our video, we had our press release, and we also had a sign up sheet where persons can sign up. They can decide what they want to do, what activity they want to do. And all we request from them is a photo so that we can collate all the 100 good deeds and then put them together and publish it with the International Good Deeds Organization. So far, this is what we have done, and we're collecting good deeds. So we just want to continue to encourage the public to come on board. Like Valerie said, it doesn't matter how big, it doesn't matter how small. As well as there are many persons who are already involved in doing good deeds. I noticed that we missed quite a few because we would see on Facebook the banks, we will see the village councils, and we're like, these are our partners right there. So we just want to continue to send out that message that we're looking to collect 100 good deeds. And we give you a shirt like this. We want to also talk about Love One, Teach One Foundation. That is Miss Gloria over in Silver Lake.
Yes.
She is one of our biggest partners in our Good Deeds Drive over the years, because last year we did a a mural?
Yes, last year we did the mural, and I think Gloria team always focuses on beautification. So just to just give an examples of some of the good deeds that we do, we always do murals because we think that they are just great symbols that can stay and last throughout. So in addition to doing murals, it's about beautification projects. This year we are looking to partner with supermarkets and stores to be able to collect food packages, and we want to be able to donate those food packages to nurses and also community persons in need. So, but more importantly, we want to be able to just get people to sign up, like Suwana said, sign up to do something good within your community, sign up your family. The other day, a father and son in Wesley, they came together and they built a bench, that is them doing good, so it's really about having a young man. The young man went and he cut an elderly grass. That is you doing good, so it's really just about how do we create a culture, nurture that culture within our communities where people know that everyone can do something to make our communities a better place.
Yeah, and mute. Yeah, and it takes us back to that spirit of Kudme that many of us grew up in. Kudme is a term in St. Lucia as well, Diane?
Yes, indeed,
Oh,
indeed.
wow. I mean, I
Good
tell you,
man.
there's no
Yes, yes.
difference between
No.
Dominica and St. Lucia. So it brings us back to when we all celebrated Kudme in our Dominica, St. Lucia, the Caribbean, where it was so much about giving back to our communities. And I'm very happy that you mentioned the nurses, Valerie, because we all know how our nurses are struggling with transportation and they're struggling in so many ways, yet they provide such a vital service to our community. So I was about to ask you, what are some of the examples of good deeds that you can do, and how might folks contact you? So I will provide the contact information towards the end of the program. So guys, get a pen and pencil or your cell phone note section ready so you can take down the information if you want to be a part of the good deeds. And I'm happy that there's no compensation for doing a good deeds, because I think we now find ourselves in societies where it is all about me, and what's in it for me now. If you have not what you have for me now, you know what I mean. And it's just sad because many of us go to Dominica and that is what we hear. People are always looking for what is in it for me. What did you bring for me? What you giving me for my Christmas? And I often wonder, well, what are you doing? What are you doing for your community? What are you doing to better the space that you live in? So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to try to initiate, try to reignite that Kudma spirit. And I hope that this project goes beyond this year. So this is not just a one-time thing. We do good deeds next year, and then this year, and then next year we go right back to being our selfish selves. So any follow-up you want to add to that, Valerie? And then Diane, I want to come over to you and just tell us a little bit more
Okay.
about
Okay.
Yes, Valerie, go ahead.
Right. So just to your question, Simone, like in terms of how can persons come on board to help with this campaign or to be a part of this campaign. So one, if you're an organization and you're already involved in doing good within your communities, you can come on board with us. We want to be able to highlight your work. If you would like to volunteer with some of the programs and activities we have going on, we have murals that we are going to be doing on Give Back Day, which is Youth Day. That is Monday, August 12th, I think. We are going to be doing a mural. We call our Murals of Hope. So if you are an artist, or if you're just an amateur painter, I don't even think you need any skills. If you want to just come and help, create murals, paint murals, you can contact us for that as well. As I mentioned, we want to do 100 care packages, 100 food packages. So we are looking forward to donations if you would like to donate towards that, or if you would like to, after we receive the items, if you would like to come and help us distribute it, that is also another way that you can help. So, and if you would like to sign up to do good, you can do that. And like I said, Simone, any this goes to everybody and anybody. You know, if you have a skill, you're an electrician. Like we had one person sign up, say, I'm an electrician, I want to teach 5 people, you know, that skill that is doing good, you know. So any and anything, anything that you want to do, any way that you want to contribute, like I mentioned, if you have a grass cut and there's somebody in your community that needs a grass cut and you want to do that and you want, you know, contact us. We want to be able to celebrate you doing good. And how you do that, we just give you a t-shirt, you wear it, we just capture the moment. And yes, if you don't want to be in the spotlight, but you want to do good, we will also take that as well. And we will document that process as well in terms of, you know, X amount of persons will silent do-gooders, silent do-gooders, yes. So this is just the ways that people can come on board to help support. So we mentioned the murals, we mentioned the care packages that we will be doing. We're also looking to do some we call it a bathroom project, and I think it's done in different aspects of the world where you just really go into female bathrooms, male bathrooms, and be able to just help create motivational spaces there. Again, it's an art project where people will be painting motivational quotes and so on, but also equipping those restrooms with toilet paper and cleaning supplies. We know how school restrooms cannot be a very pleasant. So we're looking for organizations that are willing to adopt a bathroom, adopt a school bathroom, and you know, the phase approach is like you adopt a bathroom, that's a good deed. The volunteers that come in to do the painting, that's another good deed. Whoever donates to the toilet paper and the cleaning supplies, that's another good deed. And it's really just going towards that culture of doing good. And to your point, Simone, no, it's not just a one-time thing. And we hope that the persons that do come on board, that it wouldn't be a one-time thing for them. That when I tell you, Diane is doing amazing work. When Diane organizes her walk, you see hundreds of solutions coming out to support. And we hope that we can also have that in Dominica as well, where businesses, organizations, and individuals can be able to recognize just the value in doing good and the value in working together for better spaces. Yes.
Yeah, and what we don't realize too is when we do good, not only does the recipient of the initiative feel good, but we feel good as well. So we have to keep that in mind that when you do good for others, you feel good about yourself as well. And I also think it's important to keep the elderly in mind. So you know, right there in your community, there might be someone who just needs someone to give a listening ear, because so many of our older folks, they're lonely. You know, they're many of them are homebound, and they're just looking for someone to just listen to them, to help them to reminisce about their days growing up, and special events in their lives and special moments, and just to be able to listen to them. So I think there are many wonderful opportunities, and I'm happy to be able to provide some publicity with you. But I also think you should be looking at our celebrities. They too ought to be a part of that, because we all know we pay our money to go see them perform, and what are they in return offering to the communities? So I would certainly reach out to the popular entertainers on the island, even off the island, the DJ, the performers, to be a part of this campaign, because again, they have massive amounts of followers. So if you are looking to get even more exposure for this Do Good campaign, then I think that would be a good place to start. Any thoughts on that? And then Diane, I'm going to come right over to you. Valerie, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, Simone, thank you so much for that. I think like that will really help amplify the work that we do. If we get, Signal Band, if you're listening, and you guys come on board to do good, that could be, and again, it's anything. If you want to come help us feed the homeless, or if you want to organize your own way of doing good and you just want us to capture that moment, if you want to wear your good deed shirt in your next video, you can also do that. We know that ASA has its Change for Change program. We are looking to highlight you as well, ASA, and if you are available to come on board, to just encourage persons to do good, encourage persons to donate to your program, that in itself is also doing good. So thank you for that, Simone, and I hope that those listening on board, I know you mentioned that Keith Benjamin is on board. Keith Benjamin, I hope that you can also join the campaign and join us, Alvin, and the others that are on board. There are ways that you can do good. And, just whatever it is, whatever your skill set is. And like Simone mentioned, I think in terms of our past, the activities that we've collected so far, there was one in Karibishi preschool where an elderly lady went into the preschool and she was teaching these kindergarteners how to plant backyard gardening, so that was a good initiative. So we could give you countless examples, but at the end of the day, the premise is do good. You understand? Whatever it is that you can do to improve somebody else's life or to even improve your planet, the world that you live in, you can be able to join this campaign.
And there was another one I would like to highlight
Yes.
where was it
Yes.
an elderly lady? She went into the preschool
Yes,
and
I
she
just
gave the
highlighted that.
preschoolers manicures.
Oh
Don't you
yeah.
remember
I
that?
don't even remember that one. So imagine we
Yes, and
collecting.
it was really nice to see. You had the little ones and their little pants rolled up, but they were getting their feet done and everything.
Yes. So it doesn't matter from the elderly to the young people. There is a space for you in this campaign, and we look forward to having, at least a lot of people in Dominica to join this campaign.
Yeah, and I think that speaks very well to what Alvin was talking about, civic responsibility, because that is where the civic responsibility shines through. And Colton T is someone else who has a similar project going on where he goes out. I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but I recall seeing videos of him going out and feeding the homeless. So I think he might be a good one to collaborate with. But Diane, let me come over to you. Tell us more about everything that is going on with the Good Deeds Day in St. Lucia. And I also want to ask, the premise, where did this premise come from? Because I know it is actually regional. So what other islands involved in this Do Goods? Because I thought that is actually something that Valerie came up with for the Do Goods campaign, but now I'm hearing it's a regional initiative. So I'm so happy to hear that. So where did it originate from? And what are the
Actually,
islands?
yes, actually, I was just about before going on to give a little bit of history of Good Deeds Day. It actually started in 2007 by Shari Harrison of Israel. Good Deeds Day is actually in 110 countries, not just the Caribbean, but we speaking of countries like India, the US, London, Africa, a lot of the continents. So it's a regional movement, and of course the Caribbean, we do have the Caribbean countries like Trinidad, St. Vincent, the BVI, the Bahamas, Suriname, Haiti, Jamaica, Curacao, Guyana. So we have a number of countries from the Caribbean where we have the Caribbean Good Deeds Day leaders. However, we also have in Asia, we have in Europe. So it is an international movement. And again, we are in touch with all of the leaders from around the world. So
Wow.
it's not just the Caribbean on its own and Asia on its own or Israel or the European countries on its own. We are part of every single group. We know what is happening in every single country. In the 110 countries, we know exactly what is happening. Um, we also get the opportunity to attend the international conferences. Last year, I would have gone to Moldova to represent the Caribbean. We were in Dubai the year before. We were in Germany. Actually, well, I should be going, or we should be going to South Korea in October, where we present what is happening in the Caribbean. So we go as a Caribbean body, and then you have the Asian bodies coming, the Europeans, the Africans, and everybody come together to share what is happening in their region. And it is a great networking opportunity, and we again share best practices. So sometimes you would find, for instance, Cambodia is doing a project in there, but we can relate to it and tweak it and implement it in the Caribbean. So for instance, Cambodia is having a project in terms of where they are working with the fishes that are really, it's going extinct, so they are working as to how to save it. And when I got that information, what we tried to do is to see what is going extinct in St. Lucia so that we could work on it. So there are ways that we could network and share the ideas, and that is how it's a big movement. A lot of volunteers from around the world, a lot of volunteer hours. We are also part of the International Association of Volunteering Efforts. All of the Caribbean islands, we are members of that as well, because that would have been another partner of Good Deeds Day. So most times we normally have the conference with the International Association of Volunteering Efforts, followed by the Good Deeds Day conference. So it's an international movement. Our director is from Israel, who is always on the line with us, always supporting us in terms of the initiatives, and they continue to encourage us because the Caribbean is just a dot in some of these places. When we speak about Africa, the Caribbean is just a dot. So we are finding ourselves, and of course, they are monitoring what we are doing, they are following what we are doing in the Caribbean. And it is not just following, but they are educating, they are sharing a lot of the things that we do in the Caribbean.
So Valerie and Suana told us about some examples of good deeds in Dominica. Can you share some of the examples of good deeds in St. Lucia? And then the other question that comes to mind once you tell us is from 2007, that is quite a time period. So has there been an opportunity to measure the impact of all these good deeds on various areas in the world? Because you said, what is it, 110 countries? So has there been any studies done, any way to measure the impact? Because that is quite significant.
Yes, there have been reports. We do have reports, and especially when we meet at the conferences, this is how we measure what is happening within the region. The number of volunteer hours, that information can be found on the Good Deeds Day website, which is www.gooddeedsday.org. All of that information can be found there. There is information available. When it comes to St. Lucia, we have done, I from from going to being employed in the office of the prime minister, I first got the opportunity to visit Germany. Um, and that is where I started the Good Deeds Day movement because, it was again Africa sharing their stories as to things that they have done and what the impact that it had on their people, and really motivated me to drive Good Deeds Day in St. Lucia. So we've had the Good Deeds Day fun walk where we had over 200 volunteers, over 200 participants. We had the Miss Good Deeds Day St. Lucia pageant. um, Most times people speak about the young boys. They are always on the block, they are up to no good. One of the projects that we had was in the village of Canneries. We painted a mural with the young boys on the block, and we just not only painted the mural, but we sat down and we cooked. They cooked the meal, and they were included, and they really took over the project, and they felt appreciated. They felt as if they were part of something good, where they actually vowed to be part of every Good Deeds Day initiative that we will be having in St. Lucia. And we're talking about the young boys that are considered the young boys on the block,
Yep.
right? So we were with them. We also work with persons with disabilities. We also partner with the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, the Rotary Club of Castries. We partner with a lot of people, and we have a lot of feeding programs where we go over, and we work with people throughout the community. We also collaborate with the Salvation Army, and help them with the distribution and packing of their parcels. Um, we also have the beach cleanups. We have tree planting where we have collaborated with the St. Lucia Electricity Services. And the list could go on and on and on and on. I think I would not stop if I have to continue telling you a lot of what we have done in St. Lucia. But we continue to push the message of doing good, the importance of collaboration, because on our own we cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone. And one of the things that I would say as Good Deeds Day leaders, and we too would understand that sometimes as a leader, it does not have to be Good Deeds Day, but as a leader of any organization, there is something where I call the lone dancer theory, that sometimes you have to start the music and people must be thinking you must be mad by just being dancing alone, and then you're going to get the movement going. So I encourage people not to give up, and continue to do good in every single way. And I heard Valerie say it, other organizations can be part of Good Deeds Day. They can have their own Good Deeds Day activity. Just work with I have a right foundation. Just work with them and collaborate with them and see how the impactful you just coming on board. Because one organization, two organizations, three organizations coming together will have a bigger impact. And of course, one of the things that we see with our corporate sector is that there are so many different NGOs and different organizations approaching them, that the sponsorship pool is so small. But if we collaborate and we come together and do everything together, we would be able to have more resources available to us, as we would be able to share it and come together. So these are the things that we do. We collaborate, we find ways, and we also find ways to come up with creative ideas. Um, and we don't invent the wheel. So also what we encourage as an organization, if one is already distributing hampers, maybe come up with something else and don't do under the, because sometimes we keep on giving the same people the
Yep.
hampers and we
Yep.
don't spread the love. So that is something that we do in St. Lucia, and we continue to encourage people to collaborate. I would encourage people to collaborate with I have a right foundation. It's a growing organization. I have worked with them and I continue to work with them, and it's really a good way, whether in the diaspora, whether we as St. Lucia too, because I have a sister living in Dominica, so I intend to come over to Dominica and to really help them and see how we could make things happen. The same way that St. Lucia is very active, so that we now could help each other because we learn from each other. There may be something that Dominica is doing that we're not doing in St. Lucia, and the same way there is something in St. Lucia that we could help each other and really take it out there. But yes, Good Deeds Day is an international movement. Um, it continues to grow every year, and it is not just a movement where, sometimes people say they're just doing that for a few months and then it's not going to go anywhere. It's only going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm such a huge advocate for youth development. And we recently had JCI on the program. And one of the challenges in terms of reaching our young men is always, the guys on the block, they may not necessarily want to come and sit in a meeting in a hall and share their thoughts. But when you have a program like Good Deeds Day, Good Deeds campaign, you can just say, hey, you want to help me fix a bike? You want to help me build a bench? Make it informal. We have to meet people where they are. So we're not going to take a guy from the block and say, oh, come to a meeting. He's not going to come. But if you say to him, what are you interested in? You're interested in fixing computers? You're interested in producing music? You're interested in basketball, in football, in cricket? Come help us. And then you expose this young man to the world of volunteering, to the world of good deeds. And then they create that network. That is how we reach the young men on the block. So we're not the approach of trying to change them from where they are into someone, they are not trying to put them in business. It's not going to work. But if we meet them where they are, we find out what their interests are, and we engage them in a meaningful way, and elevate that interest into an opportunity for collaboration and networking. Who knows? a light bulb might click in their brain, and they might say, wow, this is an opportunity for me to spend less time on the block and more time doing something industrious. So I really want to commend you ladies for all the great work that you're doing, but we're quickly running out of time, and I just want to know about the involvement of any ministries of government that you may want to reach out to or you're currently collaborating with, because this is so much bigger than your individual organizations. So any ministries involvement, any government involvement, and also the role that us who do not live physically on the islands, but you know where our hearts are, what role can the diaspora play in everything that you're doing? So open discussion.
Um, well, in St. Lucia, we work with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. We work with Ministry of Health. We work with Ministry of Equity. We also work with Office of the Prime Minister. Um, so we do work with the supporting ministries. And one of the things that we have found in St. Lucia is that because of the work that we do, we continue to find the various government ministries engaging us. So we just started working with the Ministry of Sustainable Energy Department because of the climate action and the work that we do. So we do get to work with the various ministries, government ministries in Saint Lucia.
Good. And the role of the diaspora, are people outside of St. Lucia involved as well?
Yes, in terms of the diaspora, yes, we do have a few organizations from outside St. Lucia that we work with. We have 758 Rainbow Foundation. It is actually, though it says 758, but it's actually based out of St. Lucia. We also work with United Girls Foundation, which is from Canada, which is also another St. Lucian that operates in Canada. So we also work with the Toronto Creole Committee in Canada. So we do work with a number of international organizations from the diaspora who provide us with support when it comes to the initiatives that we do.
So same to you, Valerie and Soana. Any collaborations with the ministries? And you know, what can we do as those of us in the diaspora? I think one of the things we can do actually is when we're coming down to Creole Festival, we all need to bring a book, right? So I think we can all make a little space in our suitcases to bring a book for the I Have a Right Foundation to add to the library. So what kind of themes in terms of books are you looking for? I'm asking you like a million questions in one, Valerie. My apologies. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for that, Simon. And you said it very right that in terms of what can the diaspora or Dominicans living abroad do to help support the work. So I've mentioned even with I Have a Right Foundation, or if you just want to join Doing Good. So whenever you're traveling to Dominica, please walk with a book, walk with some stationery supply, walk with some Legos, walk with some sanitary napkins, and you can bring it to the library. You can hand deliver it. You can get to come and observe the children in action. You can get to come and read and do your good deed one time. So these are some of the tangible ways that you can support. If you are able to give us financial contributions, we also accept that, and we have our program whereby we can report on those. We can send you our newsletters so that you can see impact of your work, the impact of your contribution towards what we are doing. So these are some of the ways. In terms of partnership, we partner with organizations, we partner with community, we partner with schools to be able to amplify the work that we're doing or to just help support and grow the work. And yes, this year, our focus has been partnership development. So there are organizations and, entities that we have reached out to come on board to just help support the work. If you want to adopt a program, if you want to adopt, just help support the library with resources. There is a room for everyone to be able to give back and watch your contribution grow in the lives of the young people that we serve. Yes.
And as much as when persons are coming, they are coming to spend some quality time with their family and so on. But I don't think we should limit the fact that even though they're coming for, say, a week or so, that they are able to do a good deed in their community as well and have us document that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Suwana, because when people are coming down for the independence, we also have our community day of service. So do a good deed for that. Request a
Yeah.
shirt from us to join in that campaign as well. We're saving a shirt for you, Simone. And production, we can give you a shirt as well. As you sit in the background for production, you can be wearing your good deed with your nice love hearts on it. So it's just, like I said, good deed is just such a wonderful platform. If you have a bakery and you want to give bread, that's a good deed. If you're baking cake, that's a good deed. So there are just so many ways that we can, like, even for our library, we have retired persons that come in to just help support, to read to the children, or to just be there to take attendance. There are just so many ways that, countless ways that persons can do good. So we want to encourage you to join the campaign and to just become a part of the movement.
And even as Val mentioned, the bread, we have to mention one of our partners as well, Bread Basket in
in
Grand Bay.
Bay.
So she just came on board and said that she wants to do a good deed, which I think is a donation of some bread, she said.
Yes. So that's what
Yeah, that is excellent, excellent, excellent. And again, for those of us in the diaspora, I hate that word. Those of us abroad, overseas, I prefer those words. Again, maybe the mentorship opportunity, because with technology, we can mentor a child from anywhere. So the mentorship opportunity, I know many times organizations like yours, the funding to be able to do the good work that you do is lacking. So I'm going to give out your contact information. I'm not going to give out your phone numbers because you don't want random people calling you, but I have the phone numbers for both organizations. So if you would like to reach them, you can reach me at pushpast10@gmail.com, pushpast10 at gmail.com. And so I can vet your interest in in wanting to get in touch with the organization before I provide their phone number. So if you have your pen and paper ready, your cell phone notes section ready, Diane's contact information is D as in Diane, Felician, Felicien. So DFELICIEN dot nation NATION at gmail.com. So again, DFELICIEN dot NATION at gmail.com. So D Felician do nation at gmail.com. And for I Have a Right Foundation, the website is www.ihavearight.org. So again, www.ihavearight.org, and the email address is director at ihavearight. Is that org? You have ord, but it's org. So director at ihavearight.org, and I will repeat that information as well. And I posted it somewhere a minute ago. The Do Good Foundation, I posted it somewhere. I will find it for you and I will repeat it because Diane did mention the website. Let's see, Diane says persons can feel free to visit the Good Deeds Day website to find out who the Good Deeds Day leader in their country is. Yes, because we know that our programs reach beyond Dominica. So I'm going to look for that email address. I just posted it a minute ago, the website. I have so many messages on here, but let's take some messages from Facebook before we ask our guests for their final thoughts. And again, we want to thank everyone for being a part of this wonderful conversation and for supporting our efforts on youth development and in terms of doing good for our community. So Naomi says, You can also reach out via email. Yes, I just provided that information. Thank you, Naomi. Janelle Felix, nice to see you. Ronnie, Roy, Matthew, nice to see you. Toby Shillingford, great job. This is a great initiative. Alvin says the same thing. Janelle Felix, cross collaboration is important in building and maintaining the sense of unity that we have. Sacred Empress, Lotus Bell, great show, ladies. Do good. And she says, okay, so this is not about advertising. So let's take the next comment. I can come and do some chair massages, wellness work from Empress Holistic Wellness. I spoke to the supervisor at the infirmary a few months ago about doing some voluntary work. Excellent, Sacred Empress. So I hope you got the email address so you can reach out to Valerie and so she can include this in the 100 good deeds. And Valerie, I want to know where you guys are in terms of reaching 100. So keep that question in mind. Ronnie says great stuff. And here is the website for the Good Deeds Foundation. So again, listen carefully. www.gooddeeds DEEDS day.org. So Diane, it's two D's, right? Good deeds. Okay, excellent. So again, www.gooddeedsday.org. So gooddeedsday.org. So thank you for that. So ladies, again, thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us. I think we learned a lot, and we also see some opportunities to collaborate. So again, if anyone did not receive the information, it's posted on Facebook. But if you're listening and you somehow missed the information, you know my email address, pushpast10@gmail.com, pushpast10@gmail.com. And I want to thank everyone who continues to reach out, who is interested in having an impact in their community, Dominica, the Caribbean region, and you email me and you say, how can I assist? So we truly appreciate you who see this as not just a program, but an opportunity to impact your community. So ladies, the 2 hours have come and gone. The time goes very quickly. And I just want to hear your final thoughts. And again, guys, if you missed any portion of the program, you can go back and view the entire program on Facebook or YouTube at Q95 FM Radio or Push Past 10. Okay, so final thoughts. And again, thank you so much for being here. So Diane, our sister from St. Lucia, we'll start with you.
Yes, I would like to say thank you to the Donation Foundation team, because without the team, all of the work that we are doing currently would not be possible. Also, thank you to all of the Good Deeds Day leader from around the Caribbean and around the world to continue to support the work that we do. Miss Janelle Felix is actually the first runner-up of our first pageant, Miss Good Deeds Day. So I noticed she's tuned in.
Congratulations,
Yes. So I just want to say thank you, and I just wanted to continue to encourage people to really be part of the initiatives that are happening both in Dominica and in St. Lucia. What we are doing, we are trying to find ways to help a lot of the people to prevent our suicide rate from going up, to prevent a lot of the criminal activities that we have happening. And if everybody continue to do good, everyone support each other, we will have a better community, a better Dominica, a better St. Lucia, a better Caribbean, and a better world.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Diane, and for all that you contributed. You contributed to our discussion this evening. Valerie and Soana, lovely having you. I wish I was coming home this year. I would make sure to be a part of the movement. And speaking of good deeds, we have to give Jack his Jacqueline and Jacqueline her lipstick. Speaking of good deeds, let's just say that when it comes to good deeds, Q95 FM radio stands out among the rest because we actually just had a radiothon. I believe it was Tuesday. Was it yesterday? Yes, I am getting old. Yes, we actually just had a radiothon for the Dominica Council on Aging, and we raised over $25,000. Right? So if that is not doing a good deed, I don't know what is. So we want to say congratulations to Q95 FM for leading the way in terms of doing good deeds for Dominica and the Caribbean region. So Valerie and Soana, your final thoughts before we wind down?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for having us on the show. Thank you for the opportunity to present our Good Deeds campaign, as well as to shed some more light on I Have a Right Foundation. We also want to say hello to our team members who are viewing and who are listening and who are sharing the live as well. We have our library team as well as our I Have a Right Foundation team. So once again, I would just like to send a special appeal to everyone in the audience, even those who are overseas. Encourage your family here to get on board the Good Deeds campaign and join us as we continue to do good all over Dominica. Thank you.
Right. And yes, Simone, thank you very much for having us. We are very, very grateful for this opportunity. And I can truly say that, how this feel. And we believe that, even as we move forward to do this campaign and just to continue the work that we do within our communities, that we really look forward to having the support of our Dominicans, the support of our Dominicans abroad, and our regional partners to just be able to take our work to the next level and really just focus on building our next generation of leaders towards sustainable development. So thank you very much for having us, Simone.
Yes, it was a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Our Q95 listeners, Lambi, thank you very much for being here, being in the studio to assist us, showing Norris, thank you for keeping us connected as always. And everyone as Q95, thank you for being here. And thank you for those on Facebook and YouTube who contributed to the discussion as we continue to showcase the people, the projects, the initiatives which are geared towards moving Dominica and the Caribbean region forward. So we will continue to be here on Roots Connections. I believe our next engagement will be July 14th. We will have another engaging conversation as we continue to do the work of turning our passion for Dominica and the Caribbean region into action. Again, if you want to reach me, you missed any portion of the program, you can always do so at pushpast10@gmail.com. I want to hear from you. I want to hear about your projects, your events, your initiatives, which are meant to move Dominica and the Caribbean region forward. So again, thank you. We had I Have a Right Foundation as well as the Do Nation Foundation, and we were talking about the National Good Deeds campaign, and we were joined by Miss Valerie Honore, Miss Soana Benjamin, and Miss Diane Felician out there in St. Lucia. So again, actually it's going to be July 10th. We will be back with you for another engaging program. So with that, we say good evening. Thank you, ladies. And we will stay in touch. Diane, I have your phone number. So we will stay in touch and we will continue to brainstorm on how we can collaborate and how we can elevate and how we can continue to do good for our people. So with that, take care. Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Lambi.
Roots Connections on Q, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities and educational advancement. Many are ready to give back to their cherished nature island. Welcome to Roots Connections on Q. Join Dr. Simone Matthew on Q95.